1 year and 1 month on. How we doing, brother?
We are good, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome back to Bali, bro.
I know, mate. It's I've told you about it and I wrote posts about it and stuff as well. But like meeting you last year out here, and then Dave Kennedy as well. Just two sort of like conversations were huge instigators for me to make loads of change, man. And like I know I've told you about it, but like me and Ailey talk about it regularly. It was like, such a profound impact on like I need to fucking change the way things are going here because. You made me volatile with your childness, man.
Yeah.
Your childness made me. At that time, you know what I mean? You go through that point of life where I described it as like my life was like I was on a jet plane, but like I was strapped to the front. I was no longer in the cockpit, man, and I just felt like just getting dragged along by it. And I remember you'd been going through like a lot of change yourself, man. Like just a lot of change in like where you live, who you are, your life, your relationships, and like you'd been through like a big journey of growth. And I remember it was just like it was almost like a bit of a mirror being held up to me. Without actually anyone saying anything. You ever experienced that before?
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's funny now when I look back at that, because that was about a year ago.
It was last November, yeah.
It's been last November, exactly. Yeah. So it's exactly a year ago. So it's insane how much change had happened in my life then, which led me to coming to Bali, which is obviously like when you came a few months afterwards. But so much had changed up until that point. Now, if I look at that point up until like right now, bro, there have been tremendous changes once again. But it's all the changes that have happened since last November when we would have spoken have been the positive changes have been the product of like that initial decision to come here. So it's like, you know, you've just come here now. If you stick around here for a while, you're going to see some awesome and tremendous growth in so many different areas other than it just being this like grind of business, going around in circles, chasing your own tail. You know, as I mentioned to you, like I needed to find a bit of an equilibrium, and that's kind of where I'm at now, was like kind of leave the Western way of feeling like I needed to control things and, you know, for things always to go into a certain direction, then came here and kind of like lost that a bit and needed to find what did work. And now we're in like a really good place. So it's weird that we've had this conversation a year ago and once again, so much has changed.
Yeah, I heard when we stayed out here last time, we stayed in a really nice villa in Bali, and there was a couple of people that lived there kind of semi-permanently, like a lot of people do here. They maybe come for a few months at a time. And it was a Spanish woman, and she said something about Bali, and it like really made a lot of sense to me. And it was like a place like this kind of has no rules. Like obviously it has rules. They're really, really against drugs. That's like one of the biggest rules. Like you can do whatever you want on the road, man, but see if you smoke a joint, you're going to jail.
For a long time.
For a very long time, man.
Very long time.
Yeah. That's like the only rule. Yeah. But like she basically made this really good point about like to cut, like she was like, you feel quite free here in the sense that like it's like very sort of like, it is very free compared to being in the West. But she was like, but in order to be free and have no rules, you need to put up with bad pollution, like plastic in the ocean. Like you have to put up with bad traffic. And she was just kind of saying that if you want to live by no rules, you have to be quite accepting of no rules. And I can really see how that place does this. It makes you a bit more like, just a bit like not take things as seriously, because me and Ailey have really noticed at this time, like not being in the UK during this sort of time of year, like this is the time of year where as a coach, I don't even like it saying it out loud, but people are seasonal. It's the time of year people check out. They become more distracted. They become a lot more volatile. They eat more cramp. They drink more. It's just what happens at this time of year.
None of that exists.
And you don't even know.
You don't even notice.
You don't even know.
You don't even know what time of year it is.
You don't even know what time of year it is, man. You're just like, and I was saying that to Ailey. I was like, I've never like, and it's not that we get even caught up in that. Like at Christmas, even every single year you evolve as a person. And if I even look back at the Christmas holidays when I was in the UK last year, I still went about things as normal. It wasn't like I pure went into that same mindset, because that's something I've worked on. But you really, every day is just the same here. Like a Monday's the same as a Saturday. Like August is the same as January. Like it's just a bit wetter. You know what I mean? And
every Monday is the same as Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All the days are the same, dude.
Yeah. We went to that, remember the place, is it Warong Alus or something? The one
Warong Alus.
We went there for breakfast on Monday morning.
Amazing. Dude.
Yeah, it was good,
What a full circle moment.
I know, man, because that's where we went to that night, man. It was good. Yeah. But mate, like, so what brings a South African to Bali, mate? How did you end up here, mate?
So it's been 5 years since I left South Africa. I moved to the Netherlands for 3 years with my ex-wife. Then we moved to Portugal, to Albufeira in the Algarve. And then we were there for a bit, and then we split up, and that's when I moved to Dubai by myself, took the business there. And then after I'd say about 6 months, 7 months of being in Dubai, I had this like breakthrough moment where I was like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
It was like this really deep moment where I was just kind of like sitting on the beach. The sad song came on in my AirPods, and like I just started crying my eyes out, bro. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm in Dubai alone. I've got friends, but like they're all hustling, they're all grinding. And here's me on the beach at like 12 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon doing this whole laptop life, and then this like really sad song came on and just made me realize I was just actually fucking alone. Like, I had nobody. And so I decided to get out of Dubai, not that week or the Monday or the following month. I literally picked up my Emirates app and I booked a flight to Bali for 3 hours later. I'd never been here before.
Yeah.
And 3 hours later, I'm boarding a plane to Bali, bro. And 24 hours later, I was on one of the islands doing mushrooms. So yeah, it was quite like a 180. But I believe that like kind of all roads are going to bring you here if this is what's meant for you. You know?
That point so many folk go through, like where you'd obviously went through like a lot of change, like as you said, came out of like a relationship, you've been married, you moved to a different country. Like when people go through this kind of radical change, and I see this a lot when folk get coached, is that they don't really acknowledge that they're going through like a big shift in identity, who they are. And I even felt that, like, see when I first came out to when we kind of left our life in the UK like 5 weeks ago. I know it's still fresh, but like it was this first week where I felt really lost. Like I was just like, I don't really know who I kind of am right now. Like I did, like I have my actions, like things that I'm gunning towards, but it was like this really strange feeling of like you're very vulnerable, aren't you, when you go through that kind of change? It's no different to when someone like goes from not training to training, and then they're going through that, they're becoming this person that this is how they live their life. This is what a Monday looks like.
You're letting things go.
And it's unhinging. Like it's like, and a lot of people get to these points where it's like an existential crisis, isn't it? Like where, like you said, you're on the beach and you just start bawling your eyes out. And you're like, you have these realizations, and you'd been going through like a lot. You've been doing a lot of work at yourself at that time as well. Because I know you worked with Kieran, didn't you? Yeah.
I think that was quite a. If I look back on that now, like if I look back at the fact that, and bro, hugest respect to Kieran, to Joe, to Ollie, to any mentors that I've worked with. I feel like that was the time where I invested so much of my time, effort, money into coaching, right? And if I look back at that now, I was doing that because I actually had very weak foundations with myself. Like I wasn't spending any time trying to learn by myself how to optimize my business. I wasn't really spending any time holding space for myself to figure out who I was under all these layers. So therefore I invested in mentorship with TMP, in terms of, let's say, Ironman training and doing the triathlon work, etc. I had no experience with that. So then I invested in Joe, for example. So, this was a time where I really had such weak foundations in everything that's when I obviously went and invested into mentorship in different areas. But now when I look back at that, phase, take the coaching and the mentorship out of what I was doing, I actually had no fucking idea what I was doing, like in my personal capacity, at least, and that, I think when you look at what is the foundation to knowing what you're doing and what you're not doing, is not on are you hitting six figures? Are you running a sub 1 hour half marathon or any of these things? I think it really comes down to knowing who you are, and that is only going to come through taking the time and the space and doing what I did, as we mentioned, is just kind of like letting go of what you perceive to be important. For me, I needed to leave Dubai because actually Dubai was what I perceived as this thing that was going to
fix everything.
I'm going to go to Dubai. I'm going to be this Dubai coach. And you know what? Great experiences, bro. Like going onto jet skis with Simon and Callum and Chris, and going to Train Beach Club and doing all these like really awesome things. They were fun experiences, but at the end of the day, you still have to go home and be alone. And then I would get home and I'm like, fuck, like, is this actually me? Like, did I come here because this is where I was called to? Or is this what I felt I needed to do to prove that I was successful, to prove I was making Dubai money, you know? And do I need that? Like, no. So I just felt like I was very unfulfilled underneath all of that. And it took letting go of that, letting go of leaving Dubai and, you know, just the things that I thought were important. I needed to kind of drop all of that and come and find myself. And Bali happened to be the place.
Yeah, it's very like that, isn't it? There's like guys on the beach, man. Like when you go walking them on the beach, just like fucking laying it all out, man. On the beach, you're like, this is mad. Like you just don't see that in Scotland.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Like, or who do you think you are? You know, and that's what I mean by like the egos. You know, underneath all of that individual, there is someone that, you know, we can look at that and we can be like, oh, that's flamboyantly, arrogantly, you know, all these things. But, you know, underneath all of that, there's actually just like a good human being that maybe is struggling with something and they're not speaking about it. Or, you know, so I think that's where I was like, oh, I'm on the beach, I'm shredded, like I'm laptop lifing it, you know, like I'm making this huge impact. But then I'd get home and I'm like, oh, I'm not that person.
Yeah, I heard this thing a while ago, and it was about how like the algorithm shapes everything in your life without even realizing it. It shapes the type of content you produce. It shapes the person that you think you should be.
I feel like we spoke about this last. We spoke about AI last year.
I still speak about that all the time, man. I don't want to make this an AI podcast, man. I could go down rabbit holes with that. Same. And did you read that book, by the way, Scary Smart?
I did, dude.
Yeah, what did you think?
Bro, it's a lot to take in. I think
it's overwhelming, isn't it?
It's a lot to take in, bro. Especially because, you know, it's easy to just be ignorant to a lot. It's very easy to just be like, yeah, well, that's happening, and it's not like it's when people say, oh, well, it sucks that those people get sick. You know, everyone thinks it's like AI is going to affect someone else, but not them, or you know, certain decisions are going to affect everyone else, but not you. You know, I think when you're faced with how much AI is actually embedding itself in how you live your life from every facet of what we do on a day-to-day basis is influenced by AI, and it's fucking scary. But we could go down that rabbit hole. Dude.
But that, like what you said there about that life, and this is the person I need to be, this is what I'm going to do, that's influenced by AI.
Exactly.
Because it's that it projects it onto that's what you then deem as like success. And it's funny, like, because I've been there where I've done things like that, and it's like we'll always do it. I'm not sitting saying like, oh, I don't do that anymore. Like we'll be. That's the thing about denial. Is that the beautiful thing about denial is you do not know that you're in it. Otherwise, you would not be in denial. So we're always in denial in some way, shape, or form, and we're going through something like a version. Like this time next year, if we do another podcast, we'll talk about, oh, at that time this was happening, or I was there, or I was doing this. But it is definitely like everyone has to go and get lost. And see what you said there about like working in, like being part of all these different groups, being coached, being mentored. Like it's Lewis used this example once about like sort of like you're going through this point where it's almost like you're running through like a field. There's loads of like fruit trees, like bushes with things like bananas and like, and you're just going, right, I'll grab some bananas because that'll fix it, or I'll just do this. And before you know it, you're just this entanglement of like different fucking fruit. And you've not actually
the baggage is heavy.
And the baggage is heavy, and you're like, whoa, who am I? What am I doing? And that's what typically happens in like a journey of growth, is you start implementing loads of things, thinking they'll be the thing that fix it, but then you actually then get to the point and go, wow, man, like maybe I don't like that part that much, or this. And it's like, that's why I say to folk, I'm like, commit to the process, then put your own sauce on it. Like do the stuff, try it. Like the mistake folk make for the get-go, and I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong here or what your thoughts are on it, but I believe people are too flexible from the get-go on their approach to anything they do. And then as a result, they never get the result they want, and then they never experience it. Whereas
100%.
I'm like that with folk, just do exactly like, I've had this conversation with clients loads recently. Like, I am removing all of the guesswork, right? Stop trying to do this your own way. Do it my way, right? First, right? Then see, once you've started to get the results, you've seen where your sweet spot is, you've figured out what you like, what you don't like. Once you're in the point where you're in the driver's seat, then put your own sauce on
100%.
it. But don't like go and lose yourself a little bit. Go and do some things that you maybe don't like that much, but apply the process.
100%.
Get the result, or whatever it is you're trying to do, whether that's like you said, working with Kieran on your mindset, or working with someone like Joe, you were saying at the time, for your Ironman or whatever. It's like, don't go into it like, I'll do that bit, but I won't do that bit, because it doesn't work.
And it's the same with a business, for example, right? Like, let's say a business has this brilliant marketing plan, right? The people that have put that marketing plan together are the best in the industry, right? A business is not going to go with that marketing plan and then a week later go with another marketing plan and see if that works. And then a week later, oh, you know what, that didn't work so well, so I'm going to try this one here. If you just stick to one and you roll it out for long enough, and it's the same thing with a body and a plan and a nutrition plan and a training plan, stick to the basic, stick to what's been put in front of you, roll that out for X amount of time. And if that works, you know what works. If that doesn't work, you've got data to look at in terms of why it didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, but if you are too flexible in this approach, bro, if you come on board with me, for example, I'm going to give you a nutrition plan first off, and I want you to follow that. I'm not going to teach you how to track your macros, right? And then say, okay, well, from week 1, just go and track your macros, right? And good luck. Because I think someone does need a strict, rigid meal plan that they can rinse, wash, and repeat for at least the first 2 to 4 weeks. Once you have nailed that and you have structure, habit, and routine with implementing a meal plan, then I'll give you the flexibility.
Yeah.
Go and have fun. But when people want this mega flexible, easy, lifestyle-y approach, that's why you're fat.
Yeah.
Actually. That's actually why you're coming to me, because this lifestyle-y, you know, it hasn't worked for you. So let's just fix that by just putting something rigid in place in the beginning.
Yep.
And then once we get used to that, fly my pretty.
Yeah, that's it. You need to do the work at the beginning that's going to give you freedom in the future.
Yeah.
Like I say that to folk, I'm like, don't turn, I just made this saying up, but don't turn a 2-week affair into a 10-week affair.
Yeah.
Don't let something drag out longer than it needs to be.
Exactly.
Because this is something as well, that people's idea of consistency isn't actually what consistency is. Mm-hmm. And then when people have this like big eureka moment, so like you probably had this like many times, you work with a client for like a year, and 7 months in, it clicks. The penny drops and they actually start being consistent, not just with their training, like with everything, they start going all in. And then like 2 months go by and then they stop doing the stuff that got them to the dance in the first place. And they're like, yeah, but I've been doing this for a year now. I went, no. You've only been doing it for 2 months. Like you've only been doing it for 2 months. Like you've only been consistent. Like when it, like you had to, it's not you're discrediting everything that they've done in that full 9-month period. But what you have to remind people of is like, you're only like 2 months into this. Like that, like you need to do a lot more work right now. You need to be going a lot harder. Like you need to be doubling down so hard. I remember like when I joined a foreign network a good few years ago, and there was a guy in it at the time, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was doing really well in it. And we were in like breakout rooms and he was giving advice. And he just went, mate, see for I was in my first 90 days in it. And he's like, mate, like really, really like just pull like ridiculous days, ridiculous hours, like he's like, don't be scared to burn yourself out a little bit right now. And he wasn't saying it like, he was talking to me in the sense that I'm not saying like I'd have it all sussed out, but I got what he meant. He was just like, mate, get your fucking head down. Yeah. Like whatever they tell you to do it 10 times more than what you need to do it. Yeah. Whatever advice they're giving you, do it. And that's exactly what I've done. Yeah. And I've seen great progress. Like, yeah, I burnt myself out a little bit. Yeah, I done that. But that is the nature of the beast when you do anything. Like I wrote an email about this yesterday, like, the top female marathon runners all have to navigate injury. The top salesperson has to take 1,000 no's to get the yeses. Like people that go on as if like obsession's a bad thing. Like the pursuit of obsession is what achieves excellence. You're going to get hurt along the way. For sure. But by actually like trying to do it at like 80%, you're never going to get there. You have to go all in. You can't do it at like 70%, 80%, even 90%. You need to just be like, I need to surrender to this.
I think there's this mindset, and I see this with a lot of coaches as well, where they say, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing, you know, you can give yourself permission to be a normal human being. I get that, 100% cool, be a normal human being. If you want to go and have a pizza, you want to have a burger, but manage your expectations then accordingly, right? I think that's the most important thing. If you want an all-in result, right? A detailed result is a detailed approach, right? A flexible looking result is a flexible approach. Yeah. And a 60-40 looking result is a 60-40 approach, right? So it's all about actually managing an expectation of what it is that you want, right? So if you want this, that is what's actually really important. For me, if I want to have a high performing business, you need to put in those days, right? That you need to put in those days. You need to show up on socials. You need to be putting things on your stories, call to actions. You know, you need to be going the extra mile if you want a high-performing, successful business. It's the same thing with your body, bro. You are not going to cross the finish line of an Ironman, for example, by doing one run a week, right? But if one run a week works for you, then rather commit to a 21K.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it really is just about, putting in those extra hours and actually having that all in or nothing mindset, you know, because if you want the all in return on investment, it's not going to come with a once, twice a week fuck around attitude, you know, and it's a little bit cold today. You know what? I'm just going to push my training to tomorrow because I'd rather stay in today. Imagine a high performing athlete saying that.
Yeah.
The person that you're aspiring to be, the person on the Men's Health cover, right? The person that you're following on Instagram that motivates you, but not enough to take action, right? That person is not saying, it's raining today. Fuck, I'm not going to go outside. Or, you know what, like I've actually, like I went to sleep a little bit late last night. I'm just going to rather push my training to 2 days away from now. People still show up. The people that you aspire to be show up. The business owners that you aspire to have that level of success are working later than 6 p.m. and they're not sitting on fucking Netflix.
Yeah. The big one is like, you kind of touch base on it there as well, especially at this time of year where people like, just enjoy yourself. And it's like, my sort of argument to that is that, are you living that intensely?
Yeah. That you need to take
a break from it. Like, you're doing it wrong, man. Like if you're genuinely, if you feel that you need to take a break from the way that you're living, you're not living your life on your terms.
And I think that is where people have this all or nothing misconception, right? I think in terms of going for your goals, you need to be all in. You have to be all in on your goals. But this other way of looking at it, as you say, where it's like, oh, well, it's Christmas, or it's like this hardcore training lifestyle. That's where there's this disconnect then of the all in or nothing mindset, because you can go all in and still be very flexible. Yeah. Right? In terms of going all in your goals, having these Christmas days, but then making sure you still hold a high standard to go and get your training in the morning after. The gym's open on Boxing Day. Gym's also open on Christmas Eve, right? Most gyms actually even open on Christmas. So it's not about now not enjoying life because you're going to the gym on the same day as Christmas. Take the day off. But if you are going to go and spend time with family and go and eat a little bit more and, you know, like indulge, fine. Bro, I can tell you the top athletes in the whole world are going to go and indulge with their families. But giving up from the 24th until the 5th, why? Is the lifestyle that you're trying to adhere to that shitty that you actually need to take a break from it? You know, so it's once again, then that's where the power of coaching comes in, actually.
It's getting folk to kind of like shine a light into the shadows, isn't it? That they don't really know why they're doing what they're doing, but they're just caught up in the how and the what and the when, and they're not actually thinking, right, who am I trying to be right now? Like,
so easily influenced by everyone else.
Yeah, that's it. And it's hard for people. Like, it is, like, it's a tough thing to do, especially if you've spent 20, 30, 40 years living that way, having those beliefs. Like, I call them default behaviors. Like, that's what you do because it's Christmas. That's what you do when you go on holiday. That's what you do when you go to an airport. That's what you do. Like, it's just these, like, see, I always say people like dogs more than they like to admit. You know how, like, when you like see your dog when you arrive home, is there like a routine your dog does? Like, it's the same thing every single time, isn't it? Like, my mum and dad's dog Sky, when we arrive at the house, has a routine for all of us. Like, she literally, you know exactly what she's going to do. Humans do that as well.
Oh, it's Christmas.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just these like exact same things that like patterns, and they're not actually going, right, how do I want to live right now, or how do I want to feel, or what do I want a day to look like? Like, when I work Monday to Friday, or when I'm on shift, like, how do I want my morning to be? How do I want to feel heading into work? No one's actually taking the time going, right, like, I am in the driver's seat of this. Like, I've been saying this a lot recently. It's quite a brutal expression, but like, we're not empty meat vessels. Like, just drifting through life. Like, but that people go on as if like they talk to themselves in third person. Yeah, my problem is I do this, and I'm like, you do realize that you have full autonomy, by the way. Like, you can pump the brakes on. And I know there's some situations where maybe people have like obsessive tendencies, poor relationship with food. I get that's things that folk are working on. But genuinely speaking, like, I had a conversation with a client this week that the recurring thing has came up for 4 weeks. It's the same conversation every single week. And I actually said to them, why you tell me this on a Sunday? Like, what in your brain is it that you're like, what see when it happens, tell me then. Like, why are you backloading it to, like, what is this narrative? Where is this came from? Like, no one's, we have not agreed this at any point. But for some reason, people create these like beliefs in their head that they're not even aware that they do. And I said to them, I went, look, I would believe you that you're telling me that you struggle with this and you do that.
Yeah, you're telling the truth.
You're telling this, but you fucked it for yourself because you haven't messed with the gym. Like you genuinely haven't messed with the gym. Yeah, there's been like the odd session here or there, but like, so the fact that you can go to the gym and get your training in and actually make conscious decisions in other areas, you're giving it away that like you are in control. Like you're making these choices and decisions. So like you need to just pump the brakes on. And the best advice I ever got was like, just with every breath you can change.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are just in this like, you just like, cool. True. Like, I had that argument with my partner. Oh, that fucking head's in, right? Cool. You can change. Yeah.
Take a deep breath and change the direction of it.
Fuck, I slept in. I'm not going to get my morning routine done. You can change. You can just adjust it, get the pen and paper out, change direction. Like, I forgot my log for the gym. I've not got it. Right, cool. Can you take notes on your phone? Like, we can change direction constantly. And a lot of people are just so rigid. On autopilot with what they do that they forget that they are in control. Yeah. And everything's very like boxy, like, well, I've done this and I've done that. Like, the biggest one is like, you've said it already, but like letting things pile up and going, right, you do know that you can just rearrange your day. Yeah. Like, you don't have to leave that till the weekend because you've never done it today. Like,
I had this twice this week with clients as well, bro. Yeah. It's, where hasn't gone to the gym the whole week because she's been sick, right? I'm a close friend of hers on Instagram and I think she forgets this. So I see on Saturday night, she's gone and partied. So we fucked the whole week of training, but we had the energy on Saturday night to go out. Now, not my place. I will not judge a client, bro. Like, cool, live your life. At the end of the day, it goes back to managing expectations. You want to fuck around looking a result? Fuck around. That's okay. Monday comes around, we have a check-in call. I said, "Oh, Nilu, how was your weekend?" She says, "Yeah, it's good. I'm feeling much better." "Oh, yeah? What did you get up to this weekend?" Because, friends invited me out on Friday, so I went out, and I'm like, "So you're definitely feeling a lot better?" "Yeah." "Okay, so why could we not catch up any of those training sessions on the weekend? If there was that energy, the time, you had the opportunity, clearly you were able to go out." So she says, "Oh, I actually just didn't think about that. Thanks for asking." And I'm like, it's autopilot, bro, where it's like, oh, well, Monday to Friday is when my sessions are scheduled in on my calendar. Yeah. So, you know what? I didn't do anything this week. I've got now 2 days free, and coincidentally, I actually got invited out. Fuck all the training. I'm not going to catch any of those up. I'm rather just going to go out. So it's like this conditioning that like, dude, to not even consider carrying something over, to not even consider if that's a priority that you can still also do it on the weekend. It's like this all in or nothing mindset, which I think we have to obviously like try and hold a little bit of space for with clients, but at the same time, it does actually also take you recognizing that I think these behaviors do need a change. But if no one's there to kind of remind you of that or highlight that for you, it's very difficult.
Because everyone's doing it as well. Like everyone around you is doing it. Sorry, man, I was getting backed up there. But mate, I think I'm getting a cold from the AC in the apartment, man.
Put it off, bro.
Mate, I tried to put it off and I couldn't breathe.
Really?
It's too hot, man.
It's too hot.
It's too hot or too cold, man. But it's like backing my nose up so much.
And most ACs in Bali are like as close to the bed as possible as well. So like you're lying there, and the second you put it on, you can feel
getting sleep apnea from the AC.
I'm fucking sick tonight. Yeah,
I know. But mate, like it's hard when everyone around you as well. And I really take that into account, like whether my client's a teacher or they're a nurse and I just think about the space that they've been in that day. And I think about the comments that they're doing so much more than what a lot of people are. Like, mate, see in the UK, the average step count is 3,000 steps a day.
What's that, like walking into the office and walking out?
Going for a shit.
Going for a shit, that's so shit, dude.
Like, I could literally do 3K steps, go into the toilet.
I could do that in 25 minutes, bro, yeah.
Mate, like, it's madness, right? So, like, the standard now is just so low. Like, people are just scrolling their phones. I'm so observant at that. But
yet the standard is so high.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Like, the cultural standard is so low in terms of what people are actually currently doing.
But then people think they need to be doing so much more.
Exactly,
bro. It's mad.
But yet we look at these top tier results that we want to achieve, and that standard is unbelievably high.
Yeah.
When I look at some of my top transformations, bro, I was getting them to do 25,000 steps a day at one point. So it's literally 10 times what the cultural standard is.
Yeah. It's mad.
It's mad.
Yeah, and I mean that's the algorithm as well, isn't it? Because that then projects that you wouldn't see that anywhere else. You walk down the street, how many folk do you actually know? Like, well, I say in Bali, I was going to say how many folk do you actually know with a 6-pack? There is a lot of people with a 6-pack here.
In Bali,
there's a lot of people. I was at the pool like the other day and I was like, everyone's in good shape.
Yeah.
Everyone is in good shape, man. This is mad. But like, genuinely speaking, walking down like a place like, I don't know, like London, walking through London, a densely,
everyone's heads down,
like
depressed.
like it's like that is the general standard, and it's tough, man. It's tough to try and like carve your own way. As I said, when you've been living like that for 10, 20, 30 years, and then like you've got this person in your life that's guiding you and giving you hope and clarity, and you're just going, this is great, but like I can't do this, and it just takes time, man.
Because everything around you is still fucked.
Everything around you is just like holding you down, weighing you down, and it takes that. I think that's the penny drop moment where like I remember like having this when I was like 23, man. It was like I was 22, and when I was in Ibiza, and I'm pretty sure I had a heart attack, man. Like, mate, honestly, like pretty sure I had one, man. Like, just was up to no good, mate. And I remember just like having a long, hard look at my life and going like, you're not living well right now in the sense that like how like you're partying, you're drinking lots, you're going out, like. And I always remember being like, my mum wouldn't be proud of me right now. That was like this feeling that I had. And I had this like big realization is that if I want to change, I need to it's me that is absolutely responsible for this. And like, I need to create my own environments. I need to build better networks. I didn't say all this at the exact time, but like, I didn't know that, but that's what like,
you knew you were destined for something
else. Knew I was destined for something else. I was like, I need to make a radical change here in my life. And then I did, and then I fell back into those behaviours again in 2019, which is what a lot of folk do. And then I was like, right, radical change again. And since like 2019, it's been like just huge, constant, like I went all in. Like I was probably 80% in before. Like I tried to do it too much in one terms. Like I was like really holding myself to high standard in some areas, but then I was also cutting corners in other areas. Then I was like, no, man, like you need to go all in if you want to like really pursue this, man, and get the most out of it. Like it's not something that you can be selective with. And I had those beliefs as well, like we were saying earlier about this sort of like enjoying yourself. Like I had these exact beliefs as well. I thought that I warranted going out on 2-day benders because like I was like, well, that's what you do, man. Like, but because I'd have 3 weeks of like really fucking good consistency,
you don't want to.
And then I'd be like, no, I'm allowed to do this. Like I can't. And then it's like, I was in this sort of Jekyll and Hyde spot for a long period of time where I was like I was actually being the sort of high performer, like most of the time. Like someone said to me the other day,
it's the loser and the leader paradox, right? Where it's like in every leader there is still that loser, right? There is still that person that was down and out and needed the purpose, needed the drive, needed that something else to actually turn them into a leader, right? But one never really leaves behind the root, right? That like the tree has grown, you've planted the seed and you've watered it and it's gotten sunshine and it looks great and it looks strong, but the root is not left, right? And I think that's that loser to leader thing, where it's like you've gotten all of these wonderful structures, habits, routines, success, abundance, you know, the connections, the circle around you and all of that. But there is, and I can maybe attest to that, is that there is still that one part of you that sometimes wants to just drop that all and just go and be that person again, you know, and then you go there and you're reminded as to why you're not actually happy being that person anymore, which then thrusts you back into the leader. You
have to go there to then like go, right, oh, this is actually crap. Like get this a lot, and it's going to happen with clients over the festivities. Like some of them are going to peak and then they're going to be like, we're going to tell them, look, do this, do that, and then like we take a break, then we'll come back and there'll be some of them going, guys, I didn't train, I didn't do this, like I ate shit, I've put on 10 pounds, like, and you'd be like, cool, man, like it's fine, but what are you going to do about it? And that is the thing that then catapults the person to go, do you know what, how I thought I actually had to serve myself isn't the way that I actually have to serve myself. That makes me feel like crap. And it's, you have to go and get a taste of that. And it's strange because like I was having a chat with someone at the pool yesterday, at the cafe Nirvana yesterday. And like the more you grow and the more you know yourself, like we were talking about, like he was actually from the same neck of the woods as me in Scotland. And we were just kind of talking about growing up, partying, and like it's even, we were talking about how fun it was. Like how, like it's not that I don't party or anything like at all anymore, right? But Like, I mean, like going on like benders for 2 days, being in someone's kitchen at like 6 a.m., right? And we're just going, it's fun. Like, it is.
Up at the chip shop.
Yeah. Like literally just like doing that as like, but there is no part of me that could go back to doing that, even though I actually go, do you know what? There's like, because I've done that relapse so many times to go, that is crap. It doesn't appeal to me, even though it's weird. It's like, it kind of does appeal to you, but then you're actually like, no, but like, the bad far outweighs the good of it.
The thought of it.
The
thought is great. It's
like,
you know what, actually, dude, let's meet up on Saturday and let's just actually go and have a nice day in the sun, have a few tequilas and actually just get a little bit fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? But then like Friday evening comes and you're like, bro, actually tomorrow I'd really prefer to catch up on a bit of work, go train, you know, like do these things that actually inherently make you feel better, overrides the feeling you know you're going to face on Sunday morning if you go and make the decision tomorrow, you know. But it comes from repeating that cycle so many times. It's refinement, not even just in refinement in terms of what you do want, but actually you've done that so many times, and every time you've done that, it's actually not felt that great afterwards, to the point where you've now refined also what you don't want anymore. And I think refinement of what you do want and refinement of what you don't want, ultimately, like it's kind of like it puts you at this apex, you know, where now you can really stand at the top and be like, yeah, that doesn't work, that does.
Yeah. And I had this chat with Lewis last week. We were just talking about drinking, because I'd done 7 months of sobriety earlier on this year. And then Lewis he done a big stint as well, and he's not a massive drinker at all anymore. And I wouldn't even say I am myself, but playing footsie with me. And
on purpose.
Yeah. Mid podcast. But we're basically talking about, like, I used to even say things like, oh, like I like having a wee blowout every now and then. Now I do, but I don't have to even say that out loud, right? But like, I've even changed the way I would go about that, because I'm not saying I would never drink again or get drunk or let loose, but like, I really have to be in the right crowd. I really have to be in the right environment, and it just needs to happen. Like, it's not like I wouldn't purposely plan, I'm going to get gas today. Like, I am actually going to get absolutely. It needs to be in the moment. And it's like, that's what I've really learned with it. So it's like, we've got some stuff, like we're taking some time off over Christmas. We've got a villa. We're going to this really nice beach club and stuff. I have a few drinks that day. See if at least to having more drinks than I have planned, because the day's really good. That's fine. Like, but like, I'm aware, like I'm conscious of these things, and they're like, but I don't do that every other weekend. That's like, it's Christmas, or it's like maybe our birthday, or it's like a big notable thing. And it's not like, and then I'll go to some things sometimes where like, maybe I'm like, this is a big thing, and then I end up having one beer. Because that's just what I feel like in that moment. Like, I maybe have one or two, then I'm like, yeah, that was good. And I don't like, I used to always have this narrative of like, even when I was becoming more selective with drinking, like, oh, like, I'm going to allow myself one big night out a month. And I'm like, no, like, if I want to have a beer, I'll have a beer. And if I want to have more beers, if it feels right, and if I want to have more beers, I will have more beers. Now, someone might be saying that, going, that's a good idea, because every time they have beers, like, I want to have more beers every time I have more beers. And but for me, it's like, you do start to think about those things. Like I wouldn't drink excessively. See, if I've got my mind, I'm starting to think about the hangover the next day, and I'm starting to thinking about how unproductive, or that podcast that I have on Monday that I know I need to be sharp for. Like, I'm like, well, don't drink. Like, if you're having those kind of thoughts, that you definitely should not be drinking. You know what I mean? So
I think what it comes down to, and there's going to be someone that is listening to this, that I'm going to say something, and what they're going to interpret this as is almost like a level of education that they don't understand, or they haven't been taught, right? The idea of consciousness and self-awareness, right? And there's different levels of consciousness. There's about, I don't want to speak off the top of my head, there's about 6 levels of consciousness, right? Or 7 levels of consciousness, and enlightenment. And, you know, that's kind of in line with self-awareness, right? And the less self-aware you are, and aware of the people around you and the actions around you and the habits that people have around you, and let's say the levels of confidence that the people have around you, the less self-aware you are of yourself and your environment, and the less conscious you are of, let's say, the results of your actions, right? The results of the actions of others, right? So consciousness and self-awareness. The lower level you are, the more on autopilot you are, right? And so this goes back to what you say about the environment, right? you are more inclined to make these decisions if the environment around you is of people that are less conscious and less aware, self-aware, right? The more conscious and more aware people are, then that mitigates all that eliminates all of these distractions, drinking, drugs, because you are around people that are of high level of consciousness about their decisions and the people around you as well. So, if you are looking to, and this helped me a lot, was if you're looking to actually level the fuck up and actually want more confidence, want to have more energy, actually want better relationships with the people around you, be quiet and look at the people around you. Mm-hmm. Actually look at your circle, look at your support structure, the people that would do anything for you, right? Actually sit down, sit in silence and actually just observe. Do you want to look like your best friend that's fucking 30 kilos overweight, who coincidentally drinks and parties and does drugs and eats out every single day or every second day or even on the weekends? Is that what you aspire to? Sit in silence and actually think, is that the person I want to become? Because if you don't move away from people like that, you are going to become that. There's that saying that, you are the sum of the people that you hang around with the most, right? So I think the first step, just to kind of go off on that tangent, the first step to actually kind of like getting yourself out of this negative rut that you're in is to sit in silence and observe, right? Observe how you respond to things, how people around you respond to things, but then also become a lot more aware of what's going on around you and if that's actually conducive towards your growth in being healthier, more energized, having higher levels of confidence. Are the people around you low in confidence? Mm-hmm. Then you need to look at their lifestyle. Is that what you want to aspire to? Mm-hmm. So I think that for me was how I found myself here. Was I looked at the fact that I was alone in a foreign country, and that was, let's say, Russian dude was over there on the beach with 15 chicks and a bottle of Sky vodka. So the average person, that's fucking awesome. Whoa, this guy's got 20 chicks around him and he's living this life. But I was like, where's his mates? Like, where's his like healthy mates? You know what I mean? Like, where this guy is sitting 20 kilos overweight. I don't want to look like that, no matter how many chicks are around me. That's just a distraction for him. I looked at a lot of my friends at the same time, or maybe even just before that. A lot of my friends that were at my wedding, my groomsmen, the 5 guys that I would give my life for. They want to drink and do drugs every weekend. I'm just not, that doesn't inspire me. So I moved away from that. I moved away from a lot of things that I was putting myself in those situations, putting myself around those people, and I wasn't growing, right? And only when I started to actually observe, become more self-aware and move away from that, then did I achieve this next level of consciousness. Yeah. If I can say, without it sounding too woo-woo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I was having a good chat last week with our friends Dale and Jilly. Made a call. Like, they do all my editing and stuff, and we kind of came up to an agreement what we're going to kind of do going forward with obviously the podcast and that. And I was just chatting. They were asking a lots about it and stuff, really interested. And they were like, I explained like the sort of environment thing in like a way that was like, just, I broke it down. Like, they always basically asked me like, how have you found like your coaching and different things since you've been away? And I was like, I feel like I'm just like, I've got a bigger vision with a lot of things that I'm doing. And then he was like how so? I can't remember exactly what he asked, but I was kind of saying like, well, I spoke about like, Dale's also got a podcast. He's got a podcast studio. And I said, mate, imagine you just spent the next like year with Stephen Bartlett, Chris Williamson, these big podcasters. Like, what would begin to happen? He's like, well, my podcast would be better. I was like, no, but actually think about like, what would be the step-by-step things that would make your podcast be better? What would be the conversations? What would be the things that happen? And I was going into it and I was like, well, you would start to actually see that like they, not even the stuff that they do, but things that you maybe get stressed about, it just fucking rolls off of them. They're not even bothered about it. You would see the amount of like effort and deep work that they put in a day to practice something that you actually skim. They would see how seriously you take yourself, and like that's what would begin to happen. It's not they would give you this playbook and go, here mate, this is what you do to get the podcast. Yeah, they'd be giving you some fast action stuff, but you would spend time with these people who are killers at what they do, and you would begin to adopt the behaviors and traits of what those killers do.
And level up your consciousness.
Exactly, man. Yeah, you would start to just be like, well, like they articulate themselves different, and you're not. Again, this is how I learn. I don't know if every single person does this, but like I learn through observing, mate. Like I don't like. I remember like I was talking about that mentorship that I was in. Some of the trainings I didn't even watch. I actually like implemented things that they done with me because of the experience that I had, and I put my own coaching on it.
Yeah.
So like they ran on like weekly calls, and I was like, I'm gonna run a weekly call.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to structure.
On the shoulders of giants.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like, and it's like you do these things and you introduce it because you've had this experience of how it felt. And that's what people just don't get. And like, see that consciousness and self-awareness, if you don't have a high state of, or not even like a high state, but if you have a low state of consciousness and self-awareness, you're not even going to observe.
You're not even going to observe 100%.
You're just going to be like, what did I do? What did I do? Yeah. Like, you're not even going to have the ability.
It's a PT client,
right?
Yeah. That's the thing is if you are a PT, you've seen this person 3 times a week, you've seen them for a year. Right? And I've had this where I've worked with someone for a year to 2 years. If you as the PT don't rock up one day, they're like, oh, well, what do I do today? Because they're not even taking in fucking anything because they're on autopilot. When they are with you, they're just doing what you tell them to do. Right? And now if you're not there, they don't know what to do. And it has to, once again, it has to come from that willingness to want to learn. Mm-hmm. Right? And willingness to want to do better. The clients that I've seen the most progress with are the ones that ask me questions, are the ones that come on board and actually want to know, why am I doing this exercise? Okay, how long are we going to go into this dieting phase for? What's the return on this? You know, instead of coming on and just expecting, oh, well, here's the framework, I'm going to go mindlessly do it. If you're on autopilot, dude, like at some point a plane runs out of fuel if it's on autopilot and you are not taking control.
Yeah, that's what so many folk do. And it's like, that's the statement me and Lewis were talking about in the last podcast, was the quality of your results come down to the quality of questions you ask. And you say that to someone and they go, okay, but I don't have a question. It's not even questions sometimes. It's like, is this right?
Yeah.
Like, is it normal to feel this way? Mm-hmm. Like, should I have achieved this by now? Yep. Like, can you just have a look over this and make sure that this is how it should look? Like, these are questions. It's not like, it doesn't have to be like, how do you do this?
How do I do a squat?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like a pure straight up square question. It's like, you need to be, it's curiosity.
Yeah.
And if you're not curious, like I would say silence is the enemy. Like silence and results just don't work.
No.
They just do not work. You need to be.
Even the best athletes in the world have coaches and they ask questions.
Yeah.
You shouldn't go looking for a coach or mentor or someone if there's just not that oomph to want to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's enough free resources out there, dude. I posed a task for my VA to do yesterday, and it was to reach out to a whole bunch of, not reach out, but provide me a list of 20 YouTubers that align with with my demographic and my target market and the people that I want to work with. And so what she did was she found YouTubers, she found like TikTokers, Instagrammers with really good followings, but that aligned with the type of person I want to help. But I didn't know these people. Like, I've never seen them. I don't follow them. She actually also suggested Gary Vee, which I thought was quite funny, dude. I was like, yeah, the chances of my mail getting through to Gary Vee and him actually signing up as an online client is practically like a 0.1%. However, that is the type of person I want to work with. Yeah. Diligent, focused, ready for change, has a certain level of consciousness where they're ready to receive instruction and they know that it's going to be for the best and they know that there's going to be a return on the investment, time, effort, energy, etc. But I hadn't seen half of these guys, right? And girls. But I'm going through these YouTube channels that she sent me links to. And while I'm doing this, I thought, and this is like 2 hours ago, bro, I'm sitting in the cafe going through these. There is so much free resources and education and anything that you actually want to know. It's all out there, dude. But you're not going to learn if you're not interested.
Yeah.
These are just going to be thumbnails that you're going to, and it's the same thing with looking at coaches and PTs and mentors and whatever it is. They're all just coaches, mentors, PTs and whatever, if you're not willing to learn.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it does come down to when you are serious about change, your actions are going to show that,
mm-hmm.
And like, let's say you're not ready for change, you're still going to stay closed off. Even if you believe that you are ready for change, your actions are going to actually kind of reveal that, but otherwise, yeah, you're straight out of luck.
Actions speak louder than words.
Actions speak louder than words.
We were talking about this before. Like, you can just tell people are giving away so much, man. Like, I say to people regularly in calls, and like, let's say for example, first 30 days, if I call with someone and they've not done something, they've done parts, but then they've not been complete. They've been doing workouts, but they've not been filling them out. They've been doing this, and I just say to them, look, man, I'm a bloodhound. In the nicest way possible. I'm a fucking bloodhound, and I know what you're doing. Like, I know what you're doing. Stop it, right? Just play the game with me. Stop trying to play your own game. And that usually like gets folk to go, right, okay, like I can't get any of this around, because like people don't realize how much they're giving away. Like, I've seen it a gazillion times, man, with clients, like what they do, the behaviors. No one's inventing new problems. Everyone's just repeating the same thing, dressed up a little bit differently, and everyone's going through the same cycle. It's
and
like
the
that.
longer you've been doing this, the easier it is for you to actually recognize these behaviors.
And you get better at just being candid with folk and saying it to folk, because you're almost like, look, I'm going to save 5 weeks here. Like, I'm just going to save it 5 weeks. Let's just do this right now. This has happened here and here. This has happened twice now. Like, let's just do it now rather than doing it there. You up for this? Like, and you just tell folk, like, I say it laughing. I'm like, look, I know what you're doing, man. I'm removing all the guesswork here. All you have to do
is just do it.
Is do these things. And I'm not just talking about the plan. I'm talking about the asking the questions or but folk don't see value in these things because it's not instant gratification. And it's like, it's so delayed.
You have to play the long game.
Yeah, it's so delayed, man. And people get so caught up in that. So, mate, one big question I've got for you is, you're like so big on energy, right? Like, protecting your energy, making sure that you're sharp, that you're the core pillar of your business, as you were talking about before. How would you explain energy to someone that has no clue or understanding of the state of energy?
If it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right, that's the bottom line. Like, if it doesn't feel right, it's wasted energy. That's really it. And this comes in the form of, if that relationship doesn't feel right, if going to this gym doesn't feel right, if every time you get onto a call with your coach doesn't feel right, all of these things are, if it doesn't feel right, it's not aligned with your values, actually. But I think it's not even necessarily the other things. It's not necessarily your coach. It's not necessarily the gym. It's not necessarily the family member, right? If you haven't actually aligned yourself with your values, right? If you don't actually even know what your values are. And I think that's where there's all this disalignment, is people not really coming back to the crux of who they are. And if you have a weak foundation, everything else is kind of fucked, right? Of which then everything becomes energy draining, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know when energy became such a big, important thing in my life, but I think you have to get into a bit of a dark place, or a place where you have no energy, and then look at what has led to that, right? And so that could be the going out every single weekend. So that's taking your energy. You're not recovering from the work week, which takes energy, right? So now you're running this like fucking wheel of like work, no recovery, work, no recovery. So there we go. That's already one thing that 99% of people find themselves in, right? Is living for this weekend. And living for the weekend, they don't chill. They actually burn more, and like they expend more. And then at the same time, you've got a family member that doesn't support you, or they are causing you to argue or fight, or like just give you these feelings of like just discontentment or dishevelment or despondency, any of these things where you don't enjoy being around them. That's energy draining for you. At the same time, whenever you meet up with some of your friends, they're always talking about other people, or they're just bitching about their partner, or they're just not happy in their lives. Oh, my back is sore. Every time you speak to that person's got some shit to say, right? And now you look at all of this and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? This ain't right, But you don't want to disappoint this family member. You don't want to put boundaries in place with your work in case you lose your job. You don't want to tell this friend that maybe they're giving off a bit of a negative vibe, because then you're worried about losing the friendship. All these things, you're actually being such a fucking pussy about putting a boundary in place that you deal with it. And then what happens is that you become a byproduct of it. So it's not always you become the sum of the 5 people, but it's actually you become the sum of everything that you surround yourself by. And you need to and it's a decision, right? We were speaking about this just now, is that like, if you can make a decision to stop off for fucking coffee every single morning somewhere, you can definitely also make the decision to change that that latte for an Americano and cut out 200 calories if fat loss is a priority for you. At the same time, instead of going out every single Friday and Saturday night, if it's a priority for you, you can also make the decision to turn the fucking car around and go and get some steps in and go make your food for the week ahead, right? And by changing this, by changing that, by confronting this, by putting a boundary in place with this person, you can consciously, by design, change the direction in which your life goes, which then changes the energy balance, right? You're now shifting negative to positive. And once the battery starts to charge up, then you're able to give more attention to this, more bandwidth towards this. You start to look at your friends circle and your support structure and say, fuck, I need to actually start diversifying a little bit. Maybe I should make an effort to go and meet more people at the gym. Maybe I should meet someone at the gym and actually ask them if they want to join me for dinner this weekend, whatever it is, right? But the second that you can start actually shifting that paradigm and charging up the battery instead of allowing it to stay dead and never plugging it into the fucking wall, and it's such a simple thing. Just plug yourself in. Plug yourself in, become a little bit more self-aware and conscious of the people and things around you. And it's one of these things that I get energized speaking about because I can feel it, because I've experienced it. And most people don't believe that they're either deserving of abundance and energy and success and all these things because of their conditioning. But there's enough success stories in this world to prove that even the people that come from the darkest situations can literally turn a page and make a decision for everything to change.
Yeah.
Just depends how deep you want to go first.
Yeah, and that was a great response to that, mate. I knew it would be. The thing with energy as well is like what you said there, is that some people, when they start a journey, and why it can take people a long time to see the results is because they're not ready for those kind of results yet, because their life's a bit of a Frankenstein. Like everything you explained right there, they might have that plus the poor eating behaviours, which is affecting their energy. They're also the poor behaviours, like they wake up scrolling the phone and going TikTok first thing in the day.
The high cortisol levels.
Yeah, like there's the high caffeine dosage every single day, barely drinking any water. And it's at the beginning when folk come in, you want to get folk quick wins. Now you can, but because folk aren't acknowledging all of these things because they have low self-awareness, low consciousness, they're like, why am I not losing fat? And it's like, you're not there, man. Like,
and can I just put out, low consciousness and self-awareness is not a fucking course that you can go buy.
Yeah.
Just by the way, before you're like, oh, well, I don't know how to get that. How do I get that? How do I get this instant gratification of self-awareness and self-consciousness? You can't go fucking buy that. Yeah. Actually, unfortunately, you can't invest in a coach to help you realize the things that you already know. You already know that motherfucker is bad for you. You already know that you drink too much coffee. You already know that eating fast food 5 times a week is bad for you. You know these things. Actually, you know these things. You don't need someone to highlight it. Obviously, a coach steps in and helps you try and shift those habits, those structures, or those routines. That's our job. That's where we do step in. But for you to become self-aware, that's on you. You do need to actually take a little bit of time and sit there in silence and actually even write it down. I did this with an ex-girlfriend. Before I broke up with her, I wrote down a list of 10 reasons why I don't want to be with her. That's thing. Before I even brought up the conversation, I wrote down the pros and the cons of being with this person.
Did you show the list?
I didn't, but it stayed in my wallet for 6 months after I broke up with her to make sure that I didn't go back to her. It was on a pink piece of paper. And I wrote it down. And you know what? And this was a friend of mine that actually told me to do this. He's like, dude, before you do it, just write down 10 reasons why you want to be with her and 10 reasons why you don't. And I could only maybe write down like 4 reasons why I wanted to be with her. And 10, no. But most people don't even want to take the 20 fucking minutes out of their entire life. You can live another 50 years and you can't take 10 minutes out of your life to just get out a piece of paper and a pen and actually write it down. Then you haven't hit the lowest fucking point yet and you ain't ready for change. And you're going to stay there. Stay in the corner, little boy. You know what I mean? Stay there and be sad. That's fine. That's up to you.
Yeah.
You know?
I seen it's a Hormozy quote. I actually shared it in our call Monday, and it was it's like most people say they want the chance and they'd do anything for it, but they're not willing to commit 60, wake up 60 minutes earlier every single day.
You're willing to die for your family, but you're not willing to live. Same thing, bro.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And it's like, at the end of this year, we've done end of year reviews. We've done it with every client on one-to-one calls. Like, and one of the things at the end is the vision. And like, I tell everyone how to do it. I lay it out, and like 40% of people have done it, because it makes people uncomfortable going and writing this stuff down, because it's like, I don't want to write. And it's like, well, go and try. Go and try. Write down a sentence.
Yeah.
But by not trying, you're not doing.
You're guaranteeing you will not succeed.
You guarantee you don't succeed. And it's like, people will do it, then they'll say they've done it, or they'll do it, and it's like, go and do it, man. Like, because like, by not trying, you're not going to change. And it's like, you're not going to have it, like you said right there, that you can't go and get a course to get self-awareness. You can't do it. Like, but by not doing, you're never going to change. And this is the part that folk do not see. They're just like, oh, well, I don't know how to do that, so I'll just not do it. Or
I don't know how to, I don't have a pen on me right now.
Yeah. Or like,
well, you have a fucking smartphone and notes.
Yeah. Just go and do it. Just go and write some stuff. Like, just let it happen. I remember like when I started like asking myself more questions, and I was in a mentorship, and they were doing it all the time. And I was like, what are they asking me these questions for, man? And then the more they'd done it, the more I was like, oh, I get why they're doing this. Like, because they're installing that in you so that you then actually start doing that yourself.
Yeah.
So why do you, in a check-in form, why does like literally, well, if you don't, I would highly recommend doing it.
Yeah.
Why is it, how have you won this week? What are you proud of this week? Why do you start it off with that?
So let me backtrack on what I said just now. There are courses on self-consciousness and self-awareness, bro. What I'm saying is that is not the answer to your problems if you're not ready for it. But, and I needed to backtrack because I've got a lot of friends that offer these self-development courses, dude. Like, I'm a big believer in it. And to be honest, TMP, right? Even working with HPC, working with Supercharge, these questions come about in all mentorships that I've been with. Why do you want the change? What does the change mean to you? What are you willing to do to get that? What are those? 100%, those questions have helped me refine my life, right? But I was open and ready to receive, right? Whereas if you are still in this conditioning that nothing can help me right now, you know, I'm in such, it's me, I'm the problem, you know, I'm the kind of person that finds it very difficult to, like, if you're struggling with these limiting beliefs, right, where it's no one can help me, I'm not open to change, you know, what does this person know when actually I'm dealing with this, and this, and, you know, until that changes, no one can help me kind of attitude, you know? If you can literally sit there and be like, take that breath. I'm ready to actually fucking learn something new and let go of this person that I've believed myself to be. Okay, I'm ready for change. I'm actually ready for change. It's that simple breath. It's that turning that page, making the effort, and saying, you know, I don't know everything about myself, and there is someone that can help me learn that. Then go and do a course on fucking self-development and self-awareness, bro. That's fine. Great. There is someone that can help you. But if you cannot even just bring yourself back to the present moment and just do something simple like breathe. Bro, breath work. Let's not even go there. We can go there, but I mean, dude, that's something that has completely shifted everything for me in my entire life. But most people's attitude is the same as what mine was before I did breath work. I've been breathing for 31 years. I don't need someone to tell me how to breathe. Right? I've been walking my whole life. I don't need to go and get my steps in. It's that cellophane layer that, you know, it's we don't believe that it's there because we can still see, but actually that's the thing that's stopping us from moving forward. Limiting
beliefs, mate. 0 to 1 is always limiting beliefs. Like, folk don't realize that's the bit that they're trying to get over at the beginning. Learning to get out your own way, learning to be more honest with yourself, learning. That's why like people just can't get consistency, because they've just got these like sabotaging behaviors and beliefs. And when someone's at peace with that and they acknowledge exactly where they're at, that's like what you said right there. I am willing to learn. Like, I am acknowledging where I am at. I am not putting any more guards up. I am surrendering to this fucking process.
I've got that tattooed on my leg here, bro.
Surrender,
bro. It's a big theme for me, bro. realizing you are not perfect, realizing you do have limiting beliefs, that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
You know, and that whatever happens, change is going to happen whether you try and resist it or you go with it. You know, and I think surrendering to the fact that life is never going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you choose for it or not choose for it. Bro, can you imagine life actually being easy?
Yeah.
It's not easy. It takes work. Everything takes work. But you can either work against it or you can work for it.
Mm. Yeah, it's. I think that's a really good note, mate, to finish things up on, man. Because a lot of people, mate, when it goes down this sort of change, they're trying to, like the theme has been, they try to do it in their own terms. They're trying to do it, and I had the chat about surrendering. I had it with a client last night, and I said, "You ever heard of the idea of surrendering?" I actually was having this conversation with someone. He went, "Surrendering to me is not a good thing." I was like, "Well, yeah, obviously, if you surrender, like
that person needs the work."
Yeah, I was like, surrender. Like, you put the flag up. You're like, I can't do this anymore. And I was explaining it, and they were like, "That makes total sense." Like it was, I went into it, and it's because a lot of folk don't get that. That term comes from people going through recovery because they have to surrender to. It was my coach John, who's actually an ex-addict, that explained this to. He spoke at our event in January, and he spoke about the full ideology in detail. I'd heard it before, because there's a program called a book called the Surrender Project. And this is like a big thing there, but I think that's the guys coming in now to round things off.
Time's up, game's over.
Yeah, mate, it was awesome, man.
I mean, really appreciate it.
Good to get you back on, man, and chat. So, guys, I hope you took a lot of value from this. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit subscribe. If you're watching us on Spotify, please rate the channel as well. It'd be very much appreciated. Anyway, see you later. Goodbye.
Peace out, guys.
Awesome, mate. How was that?
Good.
It was good, mate.